much on Michael Myers as it did as to being more of what I thought was actually more of a ghost story, because it kind of touched on the aspect of his mother's ghost, and it just took away from the original Halloween genre or the Halloween film itself, and it put a twist on it to where it took away from Michael's story and kind of put it in a different direction than I thought it should have went in. That's my personal opinion. But I mean, I kind of soured on that one. That and the portrayal of Dr. Loomis in that movie wasn't that great either, because they ended up turning him into a sort of a greedy guy. Like, he had written a book about Michael, so he basically used himself to get famous off Michael's back, if that makes sense. So he was doing all these book signings and getting famous and getting greedy and getting money. And he didn't really care when Michael got out this time to try to help.
No, that's true. But that's how they wanted it to appear. And you know, what's interesting is, aren't they going to do another final of that whole series? I was reading about that too, that they're going to come out with another one where actually Michael gets killed permanently.
Yeah, I'm not sure that one's going to actually be a Rob Zombie film. They did one here this past year that was absolutely great. Jamie Lee Curtis came back. Wonderful actress, absolutely amazing. And they had brought back the original Michael Myers for it. And what they did, it was basically effectively eliminated every sequel from Halloween 2 to the present with that movie.
Uh-huh.
So what happened is they had arrested Michael at the beginning, and he had been in the asylum for, I think they said 42 years. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong on that, but he had been locked up that long. And he had gotten out this time, but this time when he got out, Laurie Strode had actually been ready for him the whole time.
Uh-huh. Well,
so I thought that was a brilliant way to delete some of the worst sequels to it. They could have kept Halloween 2, and I would have been fine with that. Halloween 3, honestly, is my favorite, not to get off topic. But Halloween 3 had nothing to do with Michael Myers.
You're right. Now,
Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, nothing to do with it.
Now, I'm trying to figure which one was it where Michael Myers was up in not a spaceship, but like in a satellite station up in space, and they bring him out of like a deep freeze.
That was actually a Friday the 13th film. That was Jason X.
Okay, Jason X. Okay, I got those confused.
Yeah, they brought Jason Voorhees out of a cryo sleep, and they had him wreak havoc on a spaceship, and then he gets blown up halfway through the movie, and some kind of nanobots rebuild him, and he's a robot at the end of the movie.
Wow. I just remember him killing, I think the killing was, to me, it was too graphic on some of it.
I actually had one of my favorite kills in the entire Friday the 13th series in that movie.
Oh, which one was it? Who was it?
It was the scientist at the beginning. She had him on the gurney or the table or whatever, and she had the sink full of liquid nitrogen. He just kind of gets up off the gurney, sticks her head in it, and slams her head into the wall.
What head?
It shatters.
Yeah, I was going to say, what head?
Yeah, that was pretty much it. I was like, wow, this is graphic. This is basically a return to what this franchise should have been. And then the rest of the movie just started going downhill.
Well, yeah, I can see that too. If I remember right, she was quite gorgeous too. And I remember how he just with her head into it, and that, yeah, wow, yeah.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah. Oh, and well, let's keep going on movies here. The slasher type.
Right. I mean, there's a couple more out there. I have 3 or 4 favorite franchises in those films. Friday the 13th is always going to be my number 1. The number 2 is probably always going to be Halloween. Number 3 will be Saw. And then number 4 is probably going to be the Scream franchise.
Huh. Now, why do you say that?
Number 4, I've always liked the Scream movies, but I don't consider them as much a slasher film as I do psychological. There's a slasher in it, but you know, he's calling them on the phone. He's tormenting them. I mean, it's more of a psychological experience, really.
Huh. Interesting. Now, going into some of the other actors and some of the other franchises and other type of movies, what are your favorites out there? I know you mentioned before we went on the air Vincent Price, which to me, I don't think anybody could ever replace Vincent.
I don't think anybody could ever replace Vincent. You're absolutely correct about that, too. I'll go ahead and repeat your sentiment on that. Vincent Price is the grandfather of horror. I mean, my favorite films he did were, you know, the Dr. Phibes films, The Abominable Dr. Phibes and Dr. Phibes Rises Again. Have you seen those?
Is that the one what was the one he did where, oh God, I'm trying to think. Remember the TV show? I can't think about it. Patrick McGee was in it. Diana Rigg. Was she in it as his daughter?
I'm actually trying to recall the name of that show.
The one he went, he was an actor, and all these people, basically, he thought he should get the award, and all of them gave it to somebody else, and all of a sudden he decided with his group of people that he was going to, you know, kill them all, and he killed them all so exciting how he did it, you know, everything from a guy that had a whole bunch of poodles, so he cooked up all their poodles and force-fed them. It was a whole sequel of interesting murders, how he did it.
Yeah, the Dr. Phibes movies were the same way. He was getting revenge on the doctor that killed his wife. And there were 9 individuals involved with her death, and he would take and kill them in a really interesting manner in most of those.
Oh, yeah. Wasn't he going to kill the one guy's son at the end or something like that?
Yeah, at the end of that one, he was going to kill the doctor's son. And what happened is eventually the doctor had gotten free, but also Phibes had gotten loose and foreshadowed the entire sequel. So.
Oh, yeah. And wasn't it like, if I remember right, they were like out in the desert somewhere, and they had like the sounds, like they were, you know, like at pyramids or whatever. And then he was killing them like that one guy. He kind of like shrunk the guy, or would it compress the guy into nothing?
Yeah, that was Dr. Phibes Rises Again. That was actually the sequel to that. And that was actually the one where he was trying to find the river of eternal life, so he and his wife could live forever.
Yeah, and you know what was interesting? All those movies were done on a very low budget. And that's what, you know, he carried it. And that's what made, you know, you watched it and it was exciting. You know, considering it was 180 degrees difference than actually what Vincent Price was in real life. But boy, he could project, you know, that whatever.
Yeah, he absolutely had that it factor. He could, the man could just look at you and send shivers.
Oh, yeah. You know, I'm trying to think of the other movie he did. I really liked it, like when the world basically had a nuclear type of war, and there were zombies around, and you know, the people were dying from the plague and all that stuff.
I can't remember the title for that one either. I'm drawing a blank there, too. I've seen so many that some of his movies tend to run together, if that makes sense.
They do. I don't know how many he produced, you know, and was in, but it was so many. It was like back to back making them.
Yeah, he definitely did a marathon making films. I think he might have had 7 or 10 a year at one point.
Well, I know that I was watching it old on YouTube, and I can't remember the movie, but the director wanted to do a movie, or the producer, in color. But, he talked to him, why make the movie in color when we can do two in black and white? And they did them both, back to back, for the cost of making one color movie. And I think, a lot of his ideas of like black and white film versus color, I hate to say it, for some reason, maybe it's just me, Nick, but tell me if I'm wrong. I really get more excited, more drawn into a black and white scary movie than I do a color one.
Well, with black and white, I mean, it's able to cover up some of the things that a color movie would have shown you. So it's way easier to get drawn into that. Say you're sitting in a dark room, you've got your popcorn, you've got, your drink, you're sitting there, and you can just get drawn into that way easier. Because you're not trying to pick the movie apart with what you see. With a black and white movie, it's more of what you don't see.
Right. So going on to what are some of your most favorite Vincent Price movies, and the best scenes that you remember that you liked?
I really like The House on Haunted Hill. I like the whole movie there. There's not really one scene that I could pick out that I liked the most. And of course the Dr. Phibes movies, the first one where I think my favorite scene in The Abominable Dr. Phibes was when he finally unveiled his face. Oh, yeah. Because he had been in a terrible accident with his wife, and it had built up to this point where, Dr. Phibes couldn't talk, of course, like you or I could. He had a device in his neck that let him talk, and it looked like it was through a phonograph machine.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you wondered why this guy couldn't move his mouth the entire time. And then it comes to the end of the movie with the big unveil, and he just takes off the prosthetic face, and he's all horribly disfigured, and it was just the shock factor from that.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. Yeah.
Because I remember being 5 or 6 years old and watching this movie and just being like, wow, all right.
Yeah.
Because the movie didn't bother me genuinely up until then.
And then at that point, it freaked you out.
Yeah, then I was like, all right, so let's go ahead and hide behind the couch for the rest of the film.
Yeah, or go to bed and put the pillow and blanket over you. Yeah, I gotta ask you a question. The new crap, and I hate to say the word crap, but some of the stuff is coming out on TV. I hate to say it, like The Walking Dead. I know there's a huge fan base still out there on The Walking Dead, but I don't know what they lost in it. I mean, it doesn't have any feel to it at all compared to, like, if you go through like the old zombie movies, like The Night of the Walking Dead, or the Walking Dead, or whatever all the sequels of those were. It seems like it doesn't have any of the scare into it, or what. It just feels like, to me, it's missing a lot.
To me, the modern stuff like The Walking Dead, and I know a lot of friends of mine love The Walking Dead. I just can't get into it. And the reason I can't get into it is it just seems like it's more drama than it's focused on the horror aspect. It's more like what's going on with the people in the film or in the show, and I guess they would have to do it that way to make a successful TV series. But it's more of what's focused with what's going on with the people in the show, like how are they surviving, who's involved with who's trying to stab who in the back, and then you get one or two jump scares from a zombie, and then you move on to the next show.
Yeah, but I mean, from that way, I think they're losing, from what I'm reading, they're losing their fan base, because I think the people are tired of it. I think they want to see some more of those exciting, like Fresh Brain type of thing, or something, where it starts growing into more things, I mean, they could take it where they don't have to be bitten to turn into a zombie. Maybe it could be just in, being near a zombie or